السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني ويفقهوا قولي. This workshop is going to be very interesting. Keep your hearts and minds both open. Something might click, something might sit, something might drive home. The minute that happens, you have a perfect idea, then you're going to lose sleep. The minute you start losing sleep, that's when you're ready to be an entrepreneur. That's what entrepreneurship is all about. We're so used to working, we're so used to employment, we're so used to 9-to-5 stuff that we kind of don't know what it means to stress ourselves to achieve more and to achieve better. And guess what? This is the one thing that is the most democratic thing on the planet, because anybody can do it. It's not about money, it's not about who you are, it's not about your family, it's not about degrees. I know entrepreneurs have never finished school. They have never finished school, they have never finished high school. And they are doing amazing in their startup world. So I'm going to put for you a workshop that I've done several times, and I've done it in a lot of places around the world. So it is a workshop that allows you to understand the concept of entrepreneurship in a very simple fashion. And the way you need to think to come up with an idea, to come up with a startup idea, there are certain ways to do it. That's what I want you guys to focus on, okay? So inshallah, may Allah make this worth your while, worth my while, worth all our whiles, because if any of you become entrepreneurs, you will hire people. If any of you become entrepreneurs, you will inshallah earn more money. And when inshallah you earn more money, you're more obligated to zakat and sadaqah. So the reason why I've been doing this for the last many years is because I've realized that within the Muslim Ummah, the issue of entrepreneurship is still not there. Everybody is too eager to finish degrees, get PhDs, and get jobs. If you look at the world economy today, we're having a problem called jobs. There are no jobs. So this is a good idea, this is a good opportunity, this is a good avenue for you to consider. So without delaying you any further, let me start this. Can you go to the next slide? So this is the most boring slide, but I'll just bore you for a few seconds. I had a fund called the Dow Capital Fund, which is owned between me and the Thakur family, and we have launched this in the United Kingdom, and we have currently also opened another fund as co-investors in America. Besides that, I used to work for British Telecom. I was head of this region for a number of years. Prior to that, I was working with Al Ghanim Group, and before that, a number of basic positions. Yeah, go ahead. I sit on the board of a lot of companies, some of them that I've put here. What 3 Words is the single competitor to Google Maps. So this is an app which allows you to reach within the radius of 3 by 3 meters. So what they did is today, if you try to share your location on Google Map, it goes on a radius of around 80 to 200 meters. Okay, so you're still calling the person, oh, where are you? I'm next to this traffic light. Oh, where are you? I'm next to this lamppost, etc. So what they did is they divided planet Earth into 57 trillion boxes of 3 by 3 meters. They wrote a simple algorithm of pulling out random 3 English words from the Oxford English Business Dictionary and registered that as the address. So where I'm standing now, this could be called house.cat.mouse. That's the address. Anybody wanting to reach me here, right here, not outside the masjid, not on the road, here, will come using that app. This app is now so popular and so dominant that 40% of all emergency services in the United Kingdom are using it. And a lot of lives, alhamdulillah, have been saved. We have Mercedes on the board with me, we have Sony Music with me, we have Intel Capital, and recently Aramex as well. Go ahead. So this workshop, like I told you, I've done this before, and in one of my webinars, I had attendees from 94 cities and around 17 countries. And the reason for that attention or eagerness to attend this workshop is because it's actually very simple. It's not one of those where people are throwing very serious jargons at you. No, very simple ideas, very simple concepts. I'm not telling you anything of what you need to do, but I'm showing you the avenues of thinking for you to come up with an idea. So where should this workshop take you? All right, right? So what we'll do is, because Atif and I have discussed this, and this is a series of workshops, if you guys are interested, we'll start off today with the how to be an entrepreneur. That will allow you to understand how to come up with business ideas, and then basically after that you need to get creative. And there's another session that I'll be doing about creativity, a need for entrepreneurship, because if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to know how to be creative. And this is another problem in our daily lives. So we go to work, we catch one particular route, and we stick to it. We never change. And after a while, we are almost robots. When we are at home, we are robots as well. We know where to keep our keys, we know where to keep our shoes. Everything is so robotic. So creativity starts reducing, it starts decreasing, and that's bad for you. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you need to be very creative. After that workshop, I will try and help you make a 2-minute video that will be your pitch for your idea for everybody to know. The best way to get interest is for publishing ideas online. So Facebook is a good avenue, Instagram is also a very good avenue as well. Finally, I'll help you with other support as well. To set up your business plan and your go-to-market strategy. GTM is go-to-market strategy, because you need to understand how to get your idea to the marketplace. Slide. Now these are some of the things you need to understand as an entrepreneur. What makes startups fail? Does anybody know how many startups fail in a year? 90%, right? And why am I still talking about this concept? Because you could be, inshallah, the 10%. And there are very simple reasons why people fail, and these are those reasons. Sometimes people don't realize that there's no need for this product or service. It's just that you're excited about it. You're going crazy about it. You talk to your mom, your dad, your uncle, your aunt, your wife, your kids, your husband, and you think this is such a great idea. It's not a great idea, because there's no need for it. So you need to make sure that when you launch an idea, there is a market for it. Number 2, whatever you're doing, if you don't have experience in it, your chances of failure are very high. Are very high. Not that they're there, but they're very high. You need to know which market to sell it to. There are many times I come across entrepreneurs who are giving me ideas here in Kuwait, and I'm thinking, what are you doing this here for? You should be in America, you should be in London, you should be in Canada, you should be in Singapore. Again, you need to understand which ideas fit which market. I'll tell you why. The adoption of technology in this country, in this region, is very low. Very, very low. Even though there's a lot of hype about it. How many times have you engaged with an authority or a government body to do your transaction online? Very rarely, right? Most of it has to be done physically. So the interaction of physical people is so high. Hence, you need to be careful about what you launch while you're in this country. Okay, you need to launch something. There's still opportunity here, of course there is, but you need to understand what that opportunity is. That does not stop you from launching a startup idea sitting here for Canada. You can still do that, but you need to do that properly. Let's go next. So how do you come up with successful ideas? So this is actually the most interesting part of my whole workshop. Everything else is super boring. It's just for the heck of it. You know, I just put stuff around to make it look very good and nice. No, I'm kidding. It's all very important. So how do you come up with good, successful ideas? Slide. Is there a skill you're good at? So let's assume you work for Zain, or you work for KOC, or you work for a finance institution. Whatever you're doing is your best bet at trying to succeed. Why? Because it's your experience, it's your educational knowledge, and your knowledge to other experiences in that same industry. Okay, so that gives you a good edge when you wake up and do something. So for example, if you are a doctor, all right, and you are now looking at patients day in and day out. Now, once you're interacting with those patients, many things will come across, because you will be upset about certain things. You will say, come on, not again. Oh, come on, not again, right? Those are the times when you have your eureka moment. But if you had experience of how to solve it, that's a good way to start up a new business idea. So the first good way, and this is usually a good bet, is that you do something that you're good at. Something, anything. It could be anything, all right? If you're good at giving extra classes to students who are wanting to learn the Arabic language, okay? And you're good at it. You teach Quran and you know the Arabic language as well. So now, how can you launch it into a proper business? Now, you're still doing it, you're already doing it, you're getting students at home. But what if you made an app and you started collecting other Arabic teachers on your app as well, and then telling the parents and the students that register your sessions with me on this app? Simple ideas, but doable ideas. You have to know everything in the startup industry, in the startup world is not complicated. It's actually very simple. Once you make it simple, it becomes possible to succeed in it. Assalamu alaikum. Yeah. Next one. Now this one is very good. There are many times, we are struggling with something. So I'll give you one classic one, right? You're driving to work in the morning and you missed your time by 5 minutes. Guess what? You got stuck in traffic. Now you're upset because you're going to be late. You're going to be very late. Your boss is going to be upset. Whoever is going to be very upset with you because you're late. Now what do you need to do? You need to find a way to go out. There's nothing. So what do? You come back to your office. You come back home. You use the weekend to think, what can I do to miss the traffic or resolve the traffic? So I'll give you an example. Someone I know, someone I came across, an Italian gentleman, a very interesting story about him. But what he did was, he used to look from his clinic, he was a dentist, every day to the city of Rome and look at it and say, oh my God, it's always jammed with cars, always filled with cars. When will this end? So he said, why should I wait for somebody to solve the problem? Let me solve it. So he took a pen and paper, started writing things, came up with ideas. His idea was very simple and it was not new, but it was very new. What he did is, he made a train. Now, what's new in a train, right? Everybody knows a train. It was made almost 100 years ago. No, there was a little difference. His train would move on roads. Okay, what's new about that, right? We know many cities having trains within the downtown area. No, his train moved on roads on tires. And his train, each of the bogies that was in that train would disengage, going to different areas as per customer request. So if 4 of us wanted to go to Salmiya and these 4 wanted to go to Hawali, the app would tell them to move to bogie number 4 and we all go to bogie number 5 because they will get disconnected and they'll go. And this was autonomous. So there are no drivers. So just think for a minute, how much space is he saving on the road? And this guy ended up winning a lot of awards and he's about to launch his idea in Dubai as the first country, and Mohammed bin Rashid has given him an award for it. So sometimes when you look at a problem and you suffer with it, you come up with a solution. This is a very good reason for you to come up with a solution. So for example, one of your problems is your boss. Your boss always wants the reports on time, but all the input for the reports don't come to you on time. So what do? Rather than get frustrated, upset, you say, I have an idea. That's your startup idea. All right? You go home and you're upset about something. Let's assume you go home and the passageway to where you walk to your apartment or your place has a bad smell coming every time. So now you will think, okay, do I keep complaining about this? Do I keep talking to the building caretaker? Do I keep talking to the owner who does nothing? Or do I solve this? Entrepreneurs always solve. They keep their mouth shut. They let their mind do the thinking and talking. That's what entrepreneurship is all about. Entrepreneurship is all about solving things with the most simplest of tasks. Solve it. Consistently solve it. There's nothing on this planet that cannot be done better or much better. You can be part of that. That's what you need to know. So this is a good way of coming up with a business idea. Complete a successful brand. So I've given you an example. If there's a major mobile store, Apple, Samsung, whatever, and if you want to start a new idea, go next to them and launch an accessories business. So someone else came up with a bigger idea and you came up with a supporting idea that it's simple things. I'm trying to give you ideas so that you don't think entrepreneurship is not something I can do. It's something anybody can do. Anybody can do it. It's just that you need clear mind. I'll tell you one of the reasons why we people don't come up with ideas. Because we're very busy. You want to know why we're busy? We're busy for that mobile phone that has a WhatsApp on it, that has a Facebook on it, that has an Instagram on it. Too busy. Way too busy. And subhanAllah, Allah has given us a brain to use, and we use it for all the things that are pointless, worthless, and hopeless. We actually get emotional about things that we have no connection to. No connection to. So if you leave your mind open towards thinking onto something that is more productive, that is more result-oriented, that is more objective-based, that's when you will realize that you can be an entrepreneur. So one of the other easy ways of doing that is to just complete a successful brand. So there's a major brand that does fashion wear, okay? So there's this big brand in some mall that does fashion wear. Go and start up a little shop that sells accessories of buttons and zips and chains. You'll do good business. Start a little tailor shop. You'll do good business. You have to use logic when you're an entrepreneur. It's all very logical. It's not difficult. Okay, this is a little complicated, but not that complicated. Some of the most successful startup ideas have been those that have been able to pick up a trend. All right. So I was talking to this professor in Oxford University, and he was working on a startup of genetics. And I told him, well, that's not new. He said, no, this is new. So what he was doing was he was looking at the strain of genes between human beings. So they said, for example, Kuwaitis. He said, all Kuwaitis don't come from the same strain. Some come out of Iran, some come out of Yemen, some come out of Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, there are different regions. So there is more likelihood for these people to have certain illnesses. So this particular startup idea that he had was to catch those illnesses and then say, okay, you are from this strain of DNA, so your kids most likely will have these illnesses. So when they are young, we will give them doses of medication that will stop the potential of that illness becoming very big. Two things happen. Number one, you have a more healthy nation. And number two, you reduce your cost of medication because you're not waiting for somebody's health to get very serious. So it's all about understanding what could most likely happen, right? So I was looking at the economic report of India that was just discussed yesterday, and the financial results will be like in India it always happens, is March of 2020. Now if you wait till March of 2020, then you will hear it the last. Which means there's a finance minister coming in, going to the parliament and saying, guys, everything is doom and gloom. No, it's better for you to know doom and gloom earlier. Why? Because that way you can position yourself to buy more real estate if you want to. You can position yourself to exit from whatever assets that you have. So always think yourself at a strategic level. Don't wait for things to happen and then you follow it. People who follow usually get there. People who lead are 2 steps ahead. So start looking at details, start looking at data, start looking at material, and create knowledge for yourself. I always encourage, I've worked enough in technology, and I always tell people, try as much as possible to stay away from technology. What I mean by technology is not the technology side, the social media side, because it keeps you engaged. It keeps you engaged endlessly. I know of people who are just answering things because they're so emotional about a subject, and it's Fajr, let me just finish and then I'll go to pray, and then he comes back from Fajr and still thinking about the messages. How do I hit this guy down? That is a troll. Let me give you some news. I was looking at a startup company just last week in London, and this was the guy from France. He said, Mr. Abdalla, if you have any topic you want me to search. So I gave him a topic, I can't share what that was, and immediately came these little bubbles up there. I said, what is this? He said, this is the number of people talking about this topic on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram. I said, great. I said, why are there different colors? He said, the ones that are red, these are all people following an avatar, and they have no clue. They don't know that the person that they're following is not a real person. It's a bot. It's an avatar created either by an agency, by a hacker, you don't know, by a political outfit. So most of the time you guys are not even aware that the people that you're reacting to are actually instigating you. They want you to come up. This is what security agencies generally do, right? They do that just to see who's the bad guy. They don't do that in the purposes of a good habit or something. That's their job. But because we people engage ourselves with social media so much and take it so seriously, my advice, don't. Because maybe who you're talking to is not even a real person. And I was surprised to know that most of the followers on any given topic were actually following a bot. They were following an avatar. It was not a real person. So if you spend more time trying to understand the trends, trying to understand how we can resolve things like drought, how we can resolve things like poverty, how we can resolve things like good education at zero or low cost, those are the kind of things we need to put our minds to. Everything else is a good, engaging situation, but until and unless you really have time, I would suggest try building the ummah, try creating more opportunities. All right, so if you know this little lock, this was a lock that maybe my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and even his father would have used, right? So this lock stayed in society for so long, and we were always entering a door and opening the lock, and there we're going. And then I lost the key, now you're fighting with me, why did you lose the key? And then I'm saying, why don't you keep the spare key with you? And it was all about somebody's inability to hold on to the key. Nobody thought, and by the way, by the time the smart lock was invented and launched in the market, we had technology in the world for more than 20 years. So it's not like, oh, the guy who came up with the smart lock idea just figured it right after internet came to the world, right after Microsoft came into the world, right after Cisco hit the world. No, 20 years later. Some guy who was like probably super lazy, didn't know what to do with life, he said, okay, let me see how I can waste my time. Let me change this lock. Okay, that's not how it happened, but I'm assuming that. But the point is that there are many things that you can change. So I've given you a few examples. Cars, you know the cars we drive, what has changed about it? Nothing, it's just the shape. A lot of features in it. The first car was made in 1912. We're still driving cars. There's no change. So where's the change? The telephone, the landline telephone, you know, the one that cannot get hacked? That phone was made how many years ago? 100 years ago. Nobody's changing anything about them. We have mobiles, that's a different sector altogether, that's called wireless. This is a landline phone. Everything under the earth has changed, so the fiber optic has changed. Everything about the fiber optic has changed. But the landline phone is still the same. Why? Because none of us has the time to look at how to change a landline. Why? Because we never thought it's important. Then you look at the train, hasn't changed. Do you know what are these dates? 1876 was the first time we got a phone. Alexander Graham Bell got the phone. He discovered the phone, he launched it to the world. The next date is 1973. This date, after 97 years, Motorola launched a mobile phone. And you know, we all like to compliment ourselves by terms like modern day, this day and age, 20th century. Guess what? There are many things that we haven't changed even in the 20th century. So it took 97 years to go from Alexander Graham Bell's phone to a mobile phone. 97 years. So I think some of us need to spend time when we have it in developing ideas. Write notes, crazy ideas, doesn't matter. You know, one of the ways, and that's in another session of mine, is about what if. It's called the what if scenario. What if this happened, what would happen? So I'll ask you a question, right? What if, how many of you own cats in your house? Raise your hands. Cats? Cats? Okay, cats. Lots of cats there, few cats here. Let's assume everybody owns a cat, okay, for argument's sake. Let's assume that cat, on a what if scenario, can talk for 2 hours in a day. 2 hours in a day, that cat is going to talk. Now, what am I doing? I'm forcing you to think outside your conventional thinking, which means I'm telling your brain, open up a new section, because in my whole brain, there is no cat that talks. But this guy, Abdalla, is telling me there's a cat that talks for 2 hours. So what will happen? What if I told you, another what if scenario, that each one of you gets the opportunity to be president of a country for just one day. 24 hours, you're president of this country. What would you do? You have to force your brain to think outside the ordinary if you want to be an entrepreneur. Because we think so conventional every time, and because we are so regular about conventional thinking, we get frustrated when we have issues, when we have problems. We get very upset. Entrepreneurs don't do that. They don't have time to get upset. You know what scientists do when they fail in a particular research? They call it data. They don't call it failure. They say, that's data. I can use that. Regular people, failure, bang this, throw that, don't talk to anybody, I'm not eating today, we are not having this at home, blah, 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 all of that. Entrepreneurs need to be people who are actually very close to the sifa referred to for the believers, which is sabr, patience. If you show patience, many things come to you. If you show frustration and upset, you actually start getting away from many things and many people. So one of the things that you need to do is look around you, like that fan, right? The fan, has the fan changed? Okay, what could you change? You have to look around you. It sounds silly, but you force your brain to look at non-conventional thinking. Well, this is something everybody generally uses. This is what Amazon is based on. This is what every other startup business in the world that is doing good is based on. What they do is, if you're used to buying sneakers or trainers, they make sure that if you're buying from the store at $50, they will try and give it to you at your doorstep at 32. You'll say, wow, that's great, right? So the online industry is all about making things more reachable and more cheaper. And that's what you can come up with an idea. Again, there are so many things you can do. How can you make education and health cheaper for your community, for your area, for your people, etc., etc. Okay, now once you come up with that idea, whatever that idea is, this slide is very important once you have done your idea, because most people, they do the idea and they're so excited that they go to investors, raise money, launch the business, and then most likely it doesn't work out. And I'll tell you why. If you have an idea, I want you to validate that idea with 100 people. Those 100 people cannot be your family. No father, no mother, no husband, no wife, no brother, no sister, no son, no daughter, no cousin, no uncle, no aunt, no second cousin, no schoolmate. Who did I miss? The cat. No cats. Okay? You can't talk to anybody who knows you, because it has to be original, it has to be real. So you have a startup idea. Let's assume your startup idea is you're going to launch something of an online bakery. I can order my croissant online, I can order my cheesecake online, right? Now I need to test that idea. So what do? I go to 100 strangers and I ask them these 4 questions. First of all, do you think that this idea of an online bakery is something that is actually needed? Is it a problem? Let's assume the stranger says yes. Then you ask, do you agree with my solution for that problem? I have this idea, and my idea is that I'm going to make this website, this online application, you can change the things you want to put on the cake, you can tell me the timing on which you want it, you can write the messages, personalized messages, blah, blah. Oh yeah, this is a great idea. Then, next question. Do you think this is really needed? Is it the need of the hour? There are many things that we don't need every day. There are some things we need every week. There are other things we need every month. There are some things we need every year, and there are others that are just driven by occasion, right? So what happens during this month? Everything in the marketplace is red, right? People walking around in red. And anybody who doesn't understand, what's going on? Well, it's supposed to be the market concept of Christmas. So everybody is going that red color. All right? And then you will have the Western market selling large-scale discounts on Black Fridays and God knows what. So you need to understand that your startup idea, is it a need of the hour, or is it something which is more passive? Then you ask the last question, that if I launch this idea, will you pay for it? So the person will ask you, how much? So you say, okay, you register on my app for free. Oh, great. That's brilliant. Always remember, when you want to engage people onto you, to your idea, try to give it as cheap as possible or free. I'm not saying you need to do that. But if you did that, your chances of adoption is very high. How do you think Facebook became so big? Because it was free. All the social media, do you pay for it? Does anybody pay for social media? That's why you have 600 million, 400 million, 300 million subscribers and users, right? So whenever you come up with an idea, you need to ask this last question very importantly, because that helps you when you're doing your business plan to tell your investor whether you're going to have revenue as your business model or adoption as your business model, which means I have more users. I'm not interested in revenue. Slide. And always register it. Please go ahead. After this, you need to pick up the key focus areas for you to do your business. Who are your customers? Is your business idea B2B? Is it business selling to business? Is it B2C? Is it business selling to consumer or customer? What is it? What is your business idea? How will you deliver your product to them? Who is your competition? What will your customers pay? Which is a question we asked earlier. I'm saying all of this for you to understand that these are important focus areas for you to look at. Not just a good idea. Always remember, a startup is only a startup when you think about it. When you launch it, it's a business. Which means there are some economic fundamentals that you need to put in there. So that's what it is. Slide. All right, go ahead. You need to make sure that everything that you do is something that you've validated. Everything that you are trying to achieve is something you've discussed. There's enough resource around you, your friends, your colleagues, your relatives. Ask them, talk to them. Make sure your idea is getting better and better. Try to give it as much energy, knowledge, and positivity as you can, because if you don't do that, if you think, oh, my little idea is so sacred, so holy, I can't share it with anybody, people will steal my ideas. Listen, in my line of work, anybody can steal what I do. But trust me, let anybody try doing what I do. The result is completely north and south. So when I started speaking in public, I still remember that, and there was one person who was a well-known public speaker. He said, Abdalla, when you go on stage, 20 minutes, that's it. Not more than 20 minutes. I said, why? He said, and everybody tells you that, right? When you do a presentation, 20 minutes, because span of attention and blah, blah, blah. My first event was 3.5 hours. And I went to the guy and I said, listen, can I suggest something to you? He said, yeah, sure. And he said, oh, good show, very nice. I said, no. Always remember, listen to everybody, but do what you think is right. Because if you didn't do that, you're going to copy somebody else. And that's a risk for business. When you start copying somebody, your business is at risk. Whatever you do is at risk. Even at work, when you're at work, if you don't isolate yourself to an individual DNA position that everybody around you knows that, okay, everybody can do this job, but you give it to this guy, he knows what he's doing. Why? Because you created a DNA about how you do stuff. So you need to make sure that you get enough knowledge and information so that you have all your stages there. These slides will be shared later, so I'm not trying to go into all the details. You can follow that later as well, yeah? Go ahead. Whenever you launch your idea, talk to people who use that sector. So for example, if it's an F&B app, go and talk to friends. Oh yeah, do you use Talabat? Oh yeah, I did. Oh really? And how do you order? Do you like the experience? Okay, have you tried Deliveroo? They just launched. No, not really. Oh, okay, why haven't you tried? Ask. Keep filling yourself with. Never be convinced that what you have is perfect and complete. Never do that. That's a big mistake. Keep getting yourself in a position that elevates you with a lot of power of knowledge. Knowledge always helps. Knowledge always helps, the good and the bad. People who criticize you, perfect. Now you know the bad customer. Try to resolve why is the bad customer. This is usually also a good way of perfecting your business idea. Go ahead. Now you do something, you launch something, and you don't let people try it. How would they know what you're doing? You have to let people engage and get connected to your idea. So either you do that, if it's a product, you give it as a tester or whatever and let them test it out, or you do something like a little gathering of people and you introduce the idea and say, this is the idea, why don't you try it? This is my app, use it for 7 days, for 15 days, give me your feedback. Don't be in a hurry to launch your business idea. Keep testing it, keep testing it. You should be the biggest critic of your idea. Because if somebody else criticizes you, you might collapse because you haven't seen that area. So you need to keep perfecting your idea until you think this is great, and then you do something called the soft launch. You must have heard that many a times, right? People launch new stores, new businesses, and they say this is a soft launch. So they will invite you, they say this is my new restaurant, why don't you come and try it for the first 3 days, or the first day it's free food, and you're going there and you're experiencing the food and the product, right? So you need to kind of reach that level and then start, because by the time you're ready to do soft launch, and I've not put that here, but I'll tell you, that means all your processes are ready. All your operational model is ready, your pricing is ready, your team is ready, your training is done. All of that is done. Otherwise you can't do a soft launch. Go ahead. Okay, this is for, if somebody's good at this, this is actually very good. Okay, you know the term selling castles in thin air, right? So what that means is you have an idea, it's a brilliant idea, and you know how to communicate the idea very well. So what you do is you go to the investor or you go to a customer and show them slides. Go to the next slide, please. And you show them slides. So what you do is you talk about the bike. There's no bike. You talk about the bike. You show the bike. There's no bike. You're showing a bike. You talk about the color, you talk about the tires, you talk about the engine, the speed, the consumption, etc. And then you convince the customer that this is the bike he wants, this is the bike he needs. And he's so excited about it that he says, hey, listen, when can I get this bike? You say, well, this is still an idea, but as soon as I make it, you'll be the first customer. That's the best way of launching a business. You know, I was in the advertising business, and I can tell you that we used to sell the idea of a campaign, an advertising campaign. Just the idea. And the customer used to say, oh, okay, so why should I do this? Why should I spend so much money on it? It's to say, because it will help elevate your brand from here to there. It will help position you among the competition. You have to structure your discussion, your narrative very clearly. It's not just about talking, it's about objective talking. It's about reaching somebody from point A to point B. If he is at point B, then you go to point C. There are many a times that I will get into such a discussion, and if I think I cannot take this guy to point B, I back out, because I don't want to lose it. But if you can do that, if you can sell something from an idea, then do it. Has anybody heard of Kickstarter? Kickstarter. So Kickstarter is a crowdfunding platform. So what they do is you put up your idea, you say, I have a new laptop idea, I have a new idea which does this and that, and it has to be a product, by the way. And the subscribers of Kickstarter will say, hey, guess what? I like this idea, I want to subscribe to it. So they will commit to you an amount, $100, $50, whatever. And you will tell them, in return of this $100, you will receive the first test product, the first beta product for you to try. And they're very happy about it. I know of a startup that we invested in, we raised $1.5 million. Just from regular people, $100, $50, $1.5 million. So it's not something very strange to raise. As long as your idea is clear. That's why I said previously, before launching your idea, before doing this soft launch stage, go through all the scenarios you need. Talk to as many people as you want. And you want to hear the best part about the entrepreneurship world? There's no age barrier. You could be 14, you can launch. You could be 68, you can launch. I'm currently mentoring a kid who's 10 years old. And he has an idea to launch his own business. He's 10 years old, I'm not joking. I put it on my LinkedIn page. If people follow me, they would know that. He's 10 years old. And the boy suffers from glaucoma, so he can't see well. Guess what's his startup idea? He wants to design t-shirts. I told him, great. And he is very clear about what he's going to do. So as long as there's clarity about what you need to do, and you have enough knowledge, enough purpose, enough drive, you should go for it. And then there are crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarters and others that will fund you. Money is not the reason why you will start your startup business, and money is not the reason why you will fail. You only fail because of what you did is wrong. There are many people, from the start of the startup world around 2000, yeah. That's when the startup industry really took off. $414 billion has been invested in the startup industry. $414 billion. I can assure you, almost all of it is gone. Burned. But look at the zeal of the startup industry. It's still growing. Every year it's growing by billions. Why? This is the only industry that can create new jobs. This is the only industry. Organized sector cannot do it. The government sector cannot do it. Technology cannot do it. Startups can do. Go on. Your business plan, please. Next slide. What you need to do is, some people think that they can get away and not present a business plan and still get funded. Of course you can, and you might raise money. I would not advise you to do that, because if you had a business plan, then if something goes wrong, you know what to look at. You go back to your business plan and you say, okay, this is where I messed up. I think I calculated my numbers wrong. I think I estimated the market demand not correct. But if you did have a business plan, then if something goes wrong, you're actually in very big trouble. So yes, some people do get away with it, most don't. So my advice to you is always come up with a good business plan. Take the help of a good financial expert. Always will help you. There are enough in the community who are CAs, accountants, people who work in the financial and investment industry. They can definitely help you. This Masjid's community is very active. This Masjid's community is very much together. Use that as an opportunity to ask, hey, which one of you is into finance? And I'm sure I'll ask Atif and Haji here that whoever is into finance and investment, let's just make a list of them so they can provide support to anybody who's coming up with a startup idea and needs support for the business plan. There must be some of you who are in the marketing business. Those could also be added because you need marketing support as well, right? Go ahead. So marketing is actually very important. It is very, very important because that is what sells, right? Today we buy because we look at an advertisement, an ad that comes on TV, on the roadside, on the newspapers, on Instagram, and we go and we buy those products. Now, let me assure you that the ad or the marketing is very important, but like the saying goes that you can sell ice to the Eskimo, right? That's the saying, you can sell ice to the Eskimo. But if there is no ice and the product of the ice is not good, that Eskimo is not going to be a repeat customer. So you can wink it, you can get away with something by clever talks, yes, but you won't have repeat customers. If you want repeat customers, your product has to be very good. I always believe the most comfortable, strong position for an entrepreneur is that people chase you. You don't chase people. Which means that if you launch your business, for the first 3 months, if you had 100 customers, you now focus on the next 100. You don't focus on retaining this. Why? Because your product is very good. It's just very good. People can't. Today, most of us use things in our life just because they've become part of our life. Why? Because they're good products. They're very good products. I'm sure there are products that are better than them, but because they're good products and good marketing, that works as a good mix. So if you just focus on marketing, you will have to spend a lot because you need to spend more money trying to get more customers. If you have a good product and good marketing, that means more and more customers will be your market share and you will not lose them. Yeah? It's very important, your team. Please, slide. The people that you choose in your startup idea are very important. Who is with you? Who's your co-founder? Who's your first team? Why? Because each one of that person has a role. Does that person fit that role? One of the classic mistakes and the reasons why startups fail is because the founder thinks he's the CEO and he messes it up. No, if you're not a good CEO, get somebody to be a good CEO. If you can't hire him, offer him shares in the company. Sweat equity. Tell him, this is yours. If you come on board, give me some of your time. So let's assume I'm doing a startup for the oil sector, and I'm not from the oil business. All right. So what do? I go to Asad and I tell him, Asad, can you join as CEO because you're from the oil sector, you know enough. I'll give you 10% sweat equity. Now, him running the show and me managing the operation is far better because he understands the industry. It doesn't reduce my equity share as a founder, but it only makes me more stronger. People who think that they are know-it-all, do-it-all, usually fail. While most of you have heard of the success of Steve Jobs, if you read his failures, they're in the billions. His 2 major failures cost the investors billions of dollars. But of course, you and I don't have the time to look at that. Why? Because it's Steve Jobs, so it's Apple. So it's all good, it's all rosy, it's all nice, right? But the fact is that you need to understand how to manage your business idea by getting the right team together, which includes the CEO. Slide. Funding, yeah, go ahead. Read this very carefully. It's not important for you to raise any money to launch a startup. Money is not the reason why you will launch a startup. You will launch a startup because you have a good idea, a perfect idea, an idea that completes a problem that is being solved. And because you went through the validation process of those 4 questions and you got very good results, you got more than 80% results in your feedback, now you have a good reason to go for it. And money is not going to stop you. Because investors, what do investors do? You think they invest in ideas? No, they invest in people. They never admit it. They always say, oh, great idea, that's why I'm going for it. But they know very well if that entrepreneur is not good for it, everything will collapse. So if you want to be an entrepreneur, make sure you are the right person before you are the right idea. Because investors put money in people. Go ahead. You would always have possibilities of raising funds. So first you bootstrap, which is a very good way to start because investors respect that you put money from your own pocket to get going. Then you go to crowdfunding platforms like Kickstarters or the others if you want to. Then you raise some debt or equity from family, friends, or supporters. In the end, you go to venture capital companies, investors, etc. All right, so there are various stages, but at where you are, if you're not an entrepreneur and if you're going to launch something, it's always good to bootstrap. Use your own money, show seriousness. Like they say, get skin in the game, put your money where your mouth is, and everybody respects you. Okay? Go to the next one, we talked about this, yeah? Mentors, everybody wants mentors. Oh, these days I get so tired. Every other person is a mentor. Anyone, you look at their LinkedIn profile, something, mentor. Something else, oh, coach, life coach, trainer, blah, blah, blah. These days, everybody wants to get into the business of mentoring. You're an entrepreneur. You need mentors, right? Definitely. But who are the mentors that you need? Go ahead. You need mentors who are actually from the industry that you are wanting them to be in, which is if you are launching an oil sector, a startup, you need a mentor who understands the oil sector. Not somebody who's in the IT business. Oh, he's very successful. He's on the Forbes list. He's not your guy. He's not going to do anything for you. Choose your mentors correctly. Second, make sure the mentor has time for you. You know, there are many times that people will ask me, can you mentor me? I say no. Not because I'm being rude, because I'm being honest. I don't have time. When I have time, I say I will organize an event like this and I engage with people on a one-to-one basis. Because I know that I can get a lot out of this rather than just typing on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn. And people are very convenient. You know, they think, okay, this 2 lines that Abdalla wrote should change my life. It won't. It won't. So it's very important that you choose mentors who can give you time. How do you do that? You schedule. You say, okay, we're going to meet once in a month on Mondays, every first Mondays. Okay, how long are we going to meet for? We're going to meet for 30 minutes or 45 minutes. Show them that you're professional. You know, most mentors take you lightly because they know you're not serious about it. They know this is just a hiccup that will come and go. So make sure you choose mentors who are from the industry of the startup that you want to launch. Make sure that they have the related experience and make sure they can give you time. A slide. Next. So we discussed what we're doing now. We're going through this current workshop of how to be an entrepreneur. This will lead you to a startup idea, inshallah. There's another session if we're done with this one, which is creativity, creative thinking a need or luxury, because you need to be creative if you need to be successful in entrepreneurship. Go ahead. Now, if anybody wants to click this, do that, because that has all the places where you can communicate with me, but the best time is now. Okay, there's a little tagline that I've put there, which is something that I follow and I ask everybody to follow as well, which means destinations do not matter. What matters is the direction you take today. We all live lives looking at destinations. I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I want to be happy, I want to be successful, I want to be CEO, I want to be millionaire, I want to be billionaire. I always tell people, if you ever want to climb a mountain, the tallest mountain, do you know where you begin? At the bottom. You begin at the bottom. And then guess what? You got all set to climb this major, massive, gigantic mountain, and just when you reach the bottom of the mountain, you realize that your ankle is not too good. Are you going to go ahead? You won't. Because your ankle is going to hold you down and you can't go up. Just when you were about to take the next step, you realize you're a bit dizzy. Why? You didn't have good breakfast. Just when you were about to take the next following step, you now realize, I forgot to take my medication. I think I need to go back to the hotel. I'll do this tomorrow. That's what is called bad preparation. If you want to succeed in anything, prepare yourself well. I always tell people there's nothing in this world called luck. There's nothing called getting lucky. Nothing. You prepare yourself enough, luck meets you at every corner. If you're prepared enough, luck meets you at every corner. Allah has written your qadr, and it won't change. What you need to do is keep trying and keep getting at it. One of the only reasons why people succeed, the only reason, is not education, not age, not experience, not thinking, not business plan. Guess what it is? It's called grit, resilience. You don't give up. You don't give up. We Muslims, we have never given up. We've gone through series and scenarios of events in history. And where are we? We're one of the most dominant religions in the world, alhamdulillah. While everything has been for the last century or more against us, there's never been a time where we have lived in a century that said, oh, you're a Muslim, come, welcome, open doors. No. So you have struggled, your fathers have struggled, your grandfathers have struggled, their fathers have struggled, their forefathers have struggled, and their ancestors have struggled. So struggle is not new to the Muslim world, is it? It's not new to us. So because it's not new to us, we should be more acquainted to it, rather than fight it. Rather than put ourselves in a difficult situation and say, this is unacceptable. Well, it was unacceptable during the times of the Prophet ﷺ as well. This was unacceptable after his time as well. It was unacceptable after those times as well. And it continues to be. Today, if I'm encouraging entrepreneurship to you, it's because I want you to live a life that you feel you've tried enough. You didn't give up. You thought and more. You did and more. You attempted and more. Giving up is not something what Muslims do. We're not those who don't know how to fight back. We are not those who know how to lose. We've been given a life, a journey, only to succeed. لَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ, which is success. Don't die unless you're in the state of perfect iman. So you have an opportunity today. And that opportunity is that start thinking. Whether you come up with a business idea or no is a different story. But at least start thinking. Start thinking as a person. Start thinking as a couple. Start thinking as a family. Think beyond conventional means. Think beyond conventional means. We have come from the back rotten parts of Mecca, a desert that was known only for doing nothing good. Nothing good. And look at where we are today. Some of you are doctors, some of you are engineers, some of you are MBAs, some of you are successful business people, some of you are doing very well in what you do. There's nothing wrong in whatever you do. There's nothing less in what you do. But always know that you can do more. And that's what entrepreneurship is all about. It's about doing more. And like I said in the start of this discussion, that if you did something, and if you launched a startup, and if you hired one new employee who's a Muslim, just think about the satisfaction that you would give to yourself, knowing that I have now participated through Allah's mercy for the risk of someone that I have no idea I would have ever met this person. In your jobs, you meet the same person, the same people, the same group, year in and year out, until that person dies or he's fired, one of the two, or he resigns. That's what happens, right? It's time we change. And it's a good reason for us to change, and I'll tell you why. It's not about 2020 and all of that. I always say that every opportunity, every second is there for you to change. Nobody's stopping you from change. It's because in Kuwait, unlike whatever other home countries we come from, I always realize this. Whenever I come back to Kuwait after a business trip or a holiday, I say Alhamdulillah. And you know why I do that? Because I have so much time to think. We're driving and there's open road. Any other city, you're driving and there's a car right in front of you. You're walking on the street and there are people all around you. You don't have time to think. Nobody has time to think about you. You died and nobody, oh, he's dead. Okay, now we need to figure out how to bury this guy. In Kuwait, no. The guy was sick. Now he was ill. Now he's in the hospital. Now he's serious. Now the doctor said, we know all of that. And now he's passed away. I need to attend his funeral. I need to go to the maqbara. So much time. You have so much time. Does anybody know a very strange guy called Leonardo da Vinci? Right? This guy was the guy who made Mona Lisa. But besides that, he's written poems. Besides that, he's a man of medicine. Besides that, he developed the sewage system of the city of Rome. Besides that, he's designed some of the best weaponry of modern day today. I honestly believe that this guy, Leonardo da Vinci, was living in a time when the day had 72 hours. Did the day had 72 hours at that time? Was it 72 hours for a day? There must be 48 hours, right? Da Vinci was living in a time when there was 48 hours in a day, right? Was it 48 hours in Rome at that time? No? Okay, last discount, 36 hours. So if he had 24 hours to do everything that he did and achieved, what do you have? 24 hours. It's all about how serious, committed, and careful you are about what you wish to do. There's nothing impossible. There is nothing impossible. Allah has not created you to be simple. He's created you to be unique. Number one, with your iman. And number two, with your actions. Remember the Prophet ﷺ talked about his concern about what? Waqt farag. What is waqt farag? Time to waste. Do you want to be part of that category? Time to waste? Because I'm sad, because I'm upset, because I'm lazy, because I can't get up. These days I even come across people who say, I have an uzur. I said, what's your uzur? I can't get up for Fajr. It's a serious uzur. I said, really? So rather than being people who can manipulate themselves towards serious vulnerabilities in their personality, why not be people who can do things? There is enough resource around you. Try it, take it, make it work. I'm not saying you're going to launch your businesses. All I'm saying is you're going to change. May Allah change all of us for the better. May Allah bring us closer to His Jannah. May Allah save us from shaitan. May Allah give us friends who are good for us in this world and the hereafter. May Allah make our families good for this world and this hereafter. And may you all pray for me, my parents, and my family, and the Muslim Ummah as we are going through some very difficult times. And Jazakumullah khair. Thank you very much for having me here.